morning. Welcome to AVNewsCast.com.
Morning.
Good morning, you guys. It is Monday, June 9th.
Yes, it is.
And obviously the lead story is going to be what transpired in Las Vegas yesterday.
Yeah.
Interesting new information coming out, but, obviously, our thoughts and prayers are to Officer Beck and Soldo.
Mm-hmm. What's the new information?
Murdered execution style. Now, if you don't know, shooters walked in to CC's Pizza, and the male shooter walked up to the soda fountain area as though he was going to get a drink. There was an officer that was right there, pulled out a gun, and shot the officer in the head. The female then shot the other officer in the head as well.
Oh, I thought that they were able to get off some shots.
One second officer was able to get off a couple of rounds before he died.
Okay. Probably because he didn't know there would be, he's focusing towards where the fountain was, not realizing that the woman was part of the whole deal too.
Perhaps. These two just, I don't even know what to call them, okay? But these two suspects, what they did was they took the officer's ammunition and weapons. No, it wasn't set. And Angelina, turn your microphone. Okay, so, and then what's interesting is they pulled out a flag, okay? Something, similar to the, like the Gadsden flag, with the coiled snake, don't tread on me, and covered one of the officers.
Wow,
okay,
nasty.
with that. Then they ran across the street to Walmart, where police began to engage them in a firefight. There's unconfirmed reports right now that they were immediately confronted by a citizen of Las Vegas who had a CCW permit, and he drew down on one of the suspects, okay? It's unconfirmed right now if he hit one of the suspects. Reports are that maybe he did.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Because I didn't hear that. What I heard was they ran into Walmart. I don't know what for, obviously. Maybe for cover. And then she shot him and then shot herself.
Yeah. Las Vegas media is, and I've seen it on other outlets as well. They're talking about an unconfirmed report, and the sheriff's department is not coming out with too much information.
Right.
But there's an unconfirmed report that that there was an individual, a citizen with a CCW permit, okay, that
they're coming here now.
That did do something, okay, and may have in fact hit one of the people, one of the suspects, which may have saved the lives of a lot of people in Walmart.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because these guys, both of them were looking, and then
it
was a suicide murder.
How come we don't see what they look like yet?
Yeah, they haven't released the names yet.
They never should. I think they should never give the names.
Yeah.
I don't think they should talk about them at all, ever.
I would agree with you. If you just do that blanketly, then I would agree with you.
Talk about the victims. Deny any kind of notoriety to these cases.
Both officers were fathers.
Yeah.
Leave behind families.
One had 6 kids. 6. And the other one had a baby.
And then this murder-suicide, the female suspect shot the male suspect in the head. I wonder if he even knew that was going to be happening.
I'm sure they talked about it. It looked like it was completely, carved out.
Orchestrated.
There was a report that one of the first responding officers that arrived at Walmart was a motor officer on his motorcycle. And he jumped off his bike and ran in the front door. He just let his bike go.
Wow.
And ran right in as people were running out. And he was telling people, get down on the ground. And a lot of people bailed out the back door.
Yeah, I heard that.
And, being a dad, having a son that's in law enforcement, I mean, think about this. You've got 2 officers having lunch.
Yeah.
Okay? And somebody comes in and says the revolution is about to begin. I mean, that's scary stuff.
It is scary stuff. It is. Now, did they have a manifesto? What What's the deal with them?
They're searching their homes. They're trying to see if they can corroborate that they were tied to some Aryan Brotherhood organization.
Okay.
They found a lot of information, such as that, at their residence.
Interesting.
It's
what
just
is
an
that?
awful.
What is it? I'm interested to find out, what did they think was being done wrong to them?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. The whole story is just it's terrible.
It's terrible.
It really is. Mm-hmm. Just terrible. And then you see the sheriff from Las Vegas Police Department, at the press conference. Mm-hmm. And, obviously, black bands on all their badges. It's terrible that they even have to have those in supply.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, it's part of...
I know, but it's awful, okay? That it's a piece of a uniform.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have those in supply. Crappy story. Really bad. Bergdahl. Mm-hmm. So Bergdahl now...
Crappy.
Bo Bergdahl, the U.S. Army private first class. You know that while he was in captivity, he received 2 promotions.
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay.
Does that mean that his parents was getting his checks? What happens to that? If you're a prisoner of war, are you still getting money put in your direct deposit account?
I would imagine so, right, Jeff?
I didn't know.
You should, yeah.
Okay.
You should.
Okay.
I hear that he's refused his promotion.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And still wants to be called private first class.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah.
He's wearing his uniform in the hospital where he's being treated. Has still not had any conversation with his parents.
Right. Huh. Isn't that weird?
And doesn't want to. He's been asked, and he's not ready for that.
He's not ready. I heard an account of a gentleman that was held hostage with 2 other people in Colombia, and he was held hostage or captive for 5 years. And he said when he was released, they told him, we're going to let you see your people for 20 minutes, but after 10 minutes, you're going to think it's too much. And he goes, it was so true, because it's just too much after being secluded. Now, he was like, I had it good because at least I had 2 other Americans with me, but this guy was by himself. You know what I mean? Nobody was speaking to him in English. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He just lost all identity for 5 years. So he could understand the fact that the guy wouldn't want to reach out to his parents yet because he's just not there yet. But it's just interesting because I would think that would be the first thing I'm running to my kids.
Yeah.
Don't you call and say hi? I just want to let you know this is where I am, and I love you, and I'll talk to you later.
We can't make an assumption. We don't know what that is. We don't know what that is to be held under those conditions for 5 years. It's not like prison. You know what I mean?
No, I
this
know.
Is completely different. You could get killed any minute of every day. You have no clue what they're telling. It's a completely different animal. We have no idea to assume that he should do one thing or the other.
A lot of the reports that we read in the media, Senator Dianne Feinstein hasn't even officially been briefed with all the information that we're getting out of the media.
That's weird.
She didn't even receive an official briefing talking about his at least one alleged escape, or that he was held in a cage, which is now described as a shark cage. She hasn't even received that official briefing yet.
That's interesting. I don't know what that is.
It is, really. It really is.
Is that what she said?
That's what she said.
Okay.
On yesterday on Face the Nation. She gets more information from the media than she's getting officially from the White House.
You know what I think is really disturbing is that the parents are getting death threats. I think it's pretty disgusting.
I understand the FBI actually is protecting them now.
Yeah, I think it's pretty disgusting.
But we had to go to that.
And that they're criticizing the father for having a beard, and why does he look the way he does? I mean, it's like, how far do we have to go down this dark hole of prejudices before we wake up and say, you know what, let me just take a minute and say, give somebody a break. I don't understand, why do we have to keep on doing the same nonsense?
I saw a Facebook post from somebody up in the Antelope Valley.
Oh, I saw it too.
Okay, that runs an organization.
Yeah,
and who, was making reference to either Islam or Muslims.
Oh yeah, he can't stand them.
And you know what? I'm having an issue with that.
Oh, it's a big problem.
I'm having an issue with that, and I'm actually thinking of quitting that organization. I don't like it, even though it's not posted on behalf of the organization. You know what? There are bad apples in every seed. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But you can't go and assume that every Muslim is a terrorist.
No, you can't.
Or everyone that believes in Islam is a terrorist.
Right.
You can't do that.
It's a religion like any other religion.
Just like you can't believe that every cop is a bad cop.
Right.
Okay. It's bad. It's wrong.
It is. It's terrible.
Okay?
It's terrible. But this is where we are. And when do we get enough of shock radio and shock TV? Because they're being fed this. And these people with little minds are believing it because they're believing in whoever's feeding this kind of nonsense.
I didn't see anybody, commenting or liking his post at all.
I think I saw 3 likes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well...
On the one that said that Bergdorf needs to just be hung. He made a comment that, he just needs to be hung.
Desertion is a capital offense.
Yes, but do you not take into consideration what else went on?
No. Desertion is a capital offense. You don't do that. You don't jeopardize the lives of your fellow troops.
No, and I get that. I totally respect that, Jeff. I really understand what you're saying to me right now.
He could crawl under his little cot and roll up in a ball, and that's fine.
Will they remove you?
There'd be 6 people alive today, at least, if he hadn't have done that.
There'd be a lot of people alive today if Bush didn't tell everybody that there was weapons of mass destruction in what country was that we were looking for mass
Iraq.
Iraq. I mean, Muslim community, and somebody got wind of it, and he was captured in front of like a mosque, and they had like over 500 people in attendance. I guess it was some kind of holiday or whatever. This guy, have you heard that story?
No, it's just the guy in San Francisco.
I didn't know nothing about a guy in San Francisco.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
But my point is, it's not all over the media. But if the guy was Muslim, it would be all over the media. We would know his mother, his father, his sister, everyone he spoke to in his life. I mean, we're just so prejudiced. And we're so conditioned to believe that bad things are associated with certain people all the time, that it's just disgusting.
There are... You know how long it took me to get the home address of Bo Bergdahl's parents online?
2 seconds.
2 seconds.
That's a shame.
2 seconds. Just with the right search term, it came right up.
The FBI is helping them how?
No, because there are people out there that are posting information. Okay?
Terrible.
Out there. Yeah, it's bad.
It's really bad.
It is bad.
Because they're just hoping that somebody does it.
Secretary of State John Kerry was on the news yesterday. And he said, under no circumstances should America ever leave one of our military behind.
Now, this is what's curious to me, because I hear that, and I get that, but we leave Americans behind, because like the 3 guys that were held captive in Colombia, I believe it was, they weren't rescued. The United States didn't come in and take them back. Something else happened. They were released. So we'll leave you if you're not in the military? Is that what the thing is?
And
then Lisa Lang's sister, she was negotiated out because of the Oprah network.
Whose sister?
Lisa Ling. You know, you don't know who she is? She's a renowned reporter.
Okay.
She does a lot of specials like Barbara Walters stuff. And her sister was held captive.
I know who she is. Yeah.
Okay.
Her sister was held captive.
Yeah.
Her sister's in the military?
No, that's what I'm saying.
She was a citizen.
Yeah.
In Colombia.
No, she was in another country. I forgot the country that she was in. But she wasn't she wasn't rescued by.
Well,
I don't get it.
Look at what's going on right now in Mexico. You know, Tijuana. Okay, with our Marine.
Well, he's in jail. He's not held captive.
Understood.
That's
okay.
different.
I get it.
We know where he is, the name of the jail that he's in.
Now,
and he's an idiot. Like, who goes to Mexico with stuff, with guns in your car?
And there's interesting stuff that came out about that, too. Okay, so he drove his car, okay, and parked his car in a parking lot on the American side.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Walked across the border and hung out with his friends all day, okay? Then came back across the border again, got in his truck, and went to get back on the 5 to head north, to go home. Okay? It was late at night, and down there at the border, there's a lot of construction, okay? So he went to make a left turn.
Oh, so the military guy can't read the sign that says, "Welcome to Mexico."
He made the wrong turn, okay?
And he can't see the big sign that says, "Welcome to Mexico."
He made the wrong turn and ended up in a line that you can't turn around in.
And when you get to the border, you can't stop and park your car and say no and tell the guys there it's a mistake. You know, that's crap. Okay. I don't buy it. I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
I'm just saying, okay? He was
but
trying
you're
to
saying no. Home. You're saying no. You're assuming, Steve.
Okay.
I think if I had guns in my car, I'm going to work it out to where I'm not taking my behind over to Mexico with my guns in the car. Wouldn't you figure it out, Steve?
Mexican law is that he is supposed to have some sort of a hearing or something happen within 72 hours of arrest. Okay? He went 75 days without a hearing.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can't talk about that. It's another country.
Right. And only until the United States got involved, he was kept in a prison called La Mesa Prison, okay? One of the worst prisons on the planet. Terrible, okay?
Oh, so they go straight to prison. There's no county facility.
No, straight to prison is where he went. That's where they hold you, okay?
Now, let me ask you this. So he goes and he realizes he's in Mexico. Do they pick him up trying to get back into the States? Like, once he realizes that he's in Mexico, what happens?
He got it right there. As soon as he crossed into the Mexican side.
Okay.
Okay?
So they searched him.
They searched him, found the weapons, and that was it. Okay? And done. La Mesa Prison was a prison that was built to hold 2,000 prisoners. Okay? It's now holding about 8,000.
Ooh.
Okay? About 8,000. Many of them drug cartel, murderers. I mean, it's a ruthless, really ruthless.
Is your ears looping?
Yeah, it's okay, but I'm a nut anyway. And it was interesting because I read some stories. I read some stories there that prisoners have to go to work for drug cartels.
Come on.
And I read a story about 7 guys who were taken out at gunpoint. Okay? Taken out at gunpoint, and they had to dig a tunnel. And they dug a tunnel for 90 days. 90 days. From the Mexican side underneath to the American side.
Yeah, well, that's on weeds.
And they dug this tunnel. They were at gunpoint digging this tunnel. They had to work 17 hours a day.
Ouch.
Some days they weren't even fed. And they were pretty sure that when they were done with the job,
they're going to kill them.
They were going to all be killed.
Yeah.
Okay? They were pretty
taking
sure.
Their time.
Fortunately, on like the last day of this, the tunnel got discovered. Okay? And they caught the guys, and they got these prisoners. All right? And it was the Mexican police that found this tunnel.
Oh, please. They already knew. Right. How do you not know that someone's taking your prisoners to go dig a tunnel?
Well, that's because there's so much corruption there.
Yeah.
Okay? So much corruption.
Someone didn't pay someone that they were supposed to.
Right, and then they were put back in prison.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, then they were put back in prison. And now, a reporter for the LA Times actually went down and interviewed this guy a couple of weeks ago. And he got permission from the warden to interview this guy. And he didn't know how much information this prisoner, how much information was going to be forthcoming. All right? But the first thing the prisoner said was, I know that I'm told I can talk to you. Am I going to be killed for telling you this information? And the reporter said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you're about to tell me.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it out.
I was
How
just,
about that?
Yeah, I was just told that,
Good Lord.
that I could talk to you and ask any
Better be a
questions.
live feed.
It's now been a couple of weeks since that interview.
Yeah.
And the reporters reached out to find out how this guy is, and he's been able to get no information at all. No information. But that prison...
Because they're waiting for him to heal from the beatdown that he got.
Something. That prison is terrible. Now, I understand that the Marine, his new attorney, is going to go into court and argue that that he was not given his rights. And he was not given a hearing, and he was not didn't have an attorney, and da-da-da. They're going to try to get him out.
They obviously have some major civil rights issue in Mexico. I mean, at some point they're going to need to fix their own house. But we do.
He
need
did
to
break the law.
Yeah, and
He did.
we got to figure out what we're doing. Like, why did you go to the border in the first place and park your car with guns in it to go across? Like, why do all of those things?
Well,
leave your stuff at home. You're in San Diego, or was he in Texas?
In America, you are allowed to have something in your trunk.
What I'm saying is, if I know that I'm going to go park my car near the border,
Right.
why take my guns? Why do it?
I
A woman
get
would
it.
think through the whole thing.
A woman with...
I'm
Really?
just- yeah, a
What's my
woman
famous line?
a
What do
woman
I
would
say?
think through it.
Take away reason and accountability.
No, honey, because this is
Okay.
This is what you. Yeah,
Okay.
okay, that's why he's in jail.
Okay.
You don't have a story of her being in jail.
He made a mistake. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. He made a big mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a problem, and we can't get him out that quick.
No,
No. And
it's just like Amanda Clark or Amanda. What was her name? Amanda
Hug and kiss.
Knox.
who was then on second trial found guilty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's never going back.
She better never leave out of America.
No.
You better travel the coast to coast.
Yeah, she's not
Never.
ever going back.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, is it time to take a break? Are we set to take a break?
Got a little time.
We got a little time. Okay, good. Then let me talk about another story. And we've talked a lot about the LA County jail system. On Friday, U.S. officials have gone into court seeking oversight of the LA County jail system.
Wow. Now that's major.
It is major. They're doing it because the amount of suicides going on in the LA County jail system has risen dramatically. The conditions, they say, are deplorable.
Wow.
The way they treat the mentally ill is terrible.
Wow.
The way people don't get health care when they need health care is terrible. It is vermin infested. Absolutely terrible. They have, you know what they have in there? What's that spider that...
Brown recluse?
Brown recluse. Yeah.
How
people are
did that
being
get in there?
I don't know.
Someone had to have let it out, right? I mean, that's not.
Well, it's not just one. It's not like a
No,
Terminator
what I'm
spider.
saying is, it's not indigenous to that area. Like, you don't have it in any of the homes in the surrounding area. Somebody had to have let them out, right? Or
I've heard
is
of
that
people being bit up here by the brown
up
recluse.
here. Okay,
Yeah.
we're in the desert, but I'm saying
I don't know.
Men's Central.
I don't know. So the U.S. Department of Justice Friday announced that it was seeking court oversight of Los Angeles County Sheriff's
Wow.
Department jail. Okay? And the way that they treat the prisoners. That actually is major. Since it was interesting because the U.S. Department of Justice's report didn't talk to the fact that there have been tremendous strides made in the last year or two. Didn't talk about
'Cause it's
any of
probably
the
not enough.
positiveness.
It's probably because it's
At
probably
all?
not enough.
Right. They just basically say, you know what, it's not working for us.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think about it, this is a system that has been corrupt since the beginning. I mean, I can't remember when it wasn't on some level, but they still are employed by the same people. So of course someone needs to take it over that is completely unrelated to the normalcy of what they've been accustomed to for decades, to be able to, you know what I mean? Because at this point, it's like some things are just like whatever. You know, some things you just overlook. You know, I just found out. Well, I can't speak on that because I don't know. I don't know it to be true.
You were just going to say something, but you can't.
Well, I mean, no, because I found it out not through, you know.
It's unconfirmed?
It's not confirmed. And okay, so it's not confirmed. But one of the things that has been brought to my attention was that if you're really old and say you have Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or what have you, and you've been in jail for a long time, they'll give you a compassionate release. And that means that they'll just let you out on the streets because they can't afford to watch you, make sure that you're not harming yourself inside a prison. It costs too much to have you followed in that way, and they'll rather just put your behind on the streets. I
had heard that too.
Oh, you have?
I've heard that too, and I forgot.
We're a sick country.
I forgot which city, but there is a city within the county of LA that was just fined, and they actually admitted that they were doing, yeah.
How sick is that?
It is a problem.
It's sick.
Okay, it is a problem, and
you don't want to use the word sick.
It is sick. Okay.
Okay.
And you know what? I get that the LA County jail system and the sheriff's department is suffering huge budget problems. And I get that AB 109...
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with how you treat a person.
Right. And I get that AB 109 didn't help things, and that exasperated more problems. Mm-hmm. And now they're dealing with, prison inmates and that release and having to monitor them. And they don't have the personnel.
Yeah. I mean, it starts with the system in itself at the earliest point. And that's... whether or not you're bringing in people really warranted, if you're not setting people up, if the punishment is fitting the crime, all of those things. Like we mentioned a couple of political people that are looking at 10 years in prison, and that's just ridiculous. For what was it?
One was LA County Sheriff's Deputy for fixing tickets.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
For fixing tickets.
That's ridiculous.
And I get that it is ridiculous.
Yes.
Okay.
So
but when you have someone in law enforcement doing stuff that's illegal.
Yes.
Okay.
But it needs to fit the crime. It needs to fit the crime.
Okay.
10 years for hooking up some tickets
and accepting bribes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the crime, and I get that there's a punishment that needs to be handed out. But 10 years is a bit much when you are facing problems with beds and availability for hardened criminals. When the other side of the spectrum is somebody can rape people, 40, 50 people, and still look at release. It doesn't make sense. Somebody needs to say, you know what, let's just go through page by page because this makes no sense.
Yeah, well, you're talking about the serial rapist.
Yeah.
Christopher Hubbard.
And there's, 900 other people that are up for this kind of release?
Yeah.
With that kind of pass?
Yes.
It's just ridiculous.
And it's too bad that when the new laws were passed, that they didn't go retroactive and backwards to include all of these people, okay, that are now grandfathered in and are immune from present law.
It's stupid.
That's really, really too bad.
It's just, and like, who are we paying that no one thought about that? Who are we paying to make these laws that no one had the foresight to think about that?
That went back to Governor Davis. Actually.
I don't care how far back you got to go. Okay. I'm just saying, when you take those positions of power and you're writing out these laws, you got to be thinking about the worst case scenarios, pro and con, and figure out whether or not we're going to want to deal with that 10 years down the line after you came up with your great new open up the bathrooms for people that can, they don't know what the heck sex they are.
it's too bad that Judge Brown, but he just interpreted the law, okay? And in letting Christopher Hubbard out, he just merely interpreted the law. Could he have found a way to hold him?
Absolutely.
Yes, he could have.
Absolutely.
And could the governor override everything and hold this guy? Yes, he could.
And he should.
Okay? Yes, he could.
What is he doing?
Okay?
If the governor has power to say no to the judge, then why are we having a problem?
He hasn't. We don't know that he's been released yet. I know that people have been staking out the house. Mm-hmm. Okay, day and night, every day. I know one reporter in particular that really wants that story.
Yeah.
And wants to get the shot of Christopher Hubbard in the car. Okay. Mm-hmm. Wants to be able to sell that shot. Okay. And he's been waiting, and so far he has not come.
Could you imagine being the neighbor of that house?
Yeah, she's a rape victim.
The neighbor.
The neighbor of the house where he's going to go live. She is a victim.
And no one's considering that.
No, because it comes down to the homeowner, and the homeowner doesn't care because it's all about the money.
Well, okay. What about his restrictions as a parolee? Being in proximity of someone else that has been victimized with his type of crime.
I don't know any law on the books that says that you can't live within so many yards of a rape victim. Okay,
they need to put it.
I mean, conscience would tell you, it's wrong. Okay, it's wrong for a judge to accept that.
What a terrible,
and they don't take that into consideration.
And someone needs to look at everything that he's presided over. I'm sorry.
I hear that
I question everything that he possibly has done in his career.
Well, I hear that there are some things being pushed very, very quickly through the legislature, and if they can get that done, and then get the governor on board, and I hear maybe he's waiting to see what happens, maybe they can hold something up. Okay. And I know, no doubt, that with the election coming up in November, between Steve Fox and Tom Lackey, Steve Fox would love to have that feather in his cap, okay, and be able to tell everybody in the Antelope Valley,
hey,
I was able to hold this guy in.
Absolutely.
Okay?
I know he's working on that.
So, he's got to be working really, really hard.
Everybody is. I'm sure Lackey's doing whatever he can, too.
If we executed him, there wouldn't be an issue right now.
Yeah, well, that's one extreme. Yeah, but we can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay?
If anybody deserves to be executed.
Yeah, but I don't see why we can't hold the guy in the loony bin.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't see why there isn't a law in the book.
Kathy, you met Kathy. You both met Kathy.
The writer?
No, that's Cynthia.
Oh, Kathy. Yeah, I know Kathy.
Okay. Her childhood friend, she went to high school with her. She was one of his first rape victims.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's something. All right, let's take a quick break, can we?
Okay, yeah.
All right, you're listening to AVNewsCast, and we'll be right back in just a minute, so stay tuned.
There's a school in Palmdale that's become the talk of the town. It's called the Guidance Charter School, and many parents say it's magical. The Guidance Charter School is WASP accredited, scored 783 in academic performance, and has an educational curriculum that exceeds the state of California standards. The curriculum is enriched through age-appropriate exposure to information technology, arts, foreign language such as Arabic, and physical education. The Guidance Charter School has a winning CIF sports program with soccer, basketball, cross-country, volleyball, swimming, cheerleading, and more. An open enrollment, free tuition school, publicly funded. They've been in business for 12 years and are fully approved by the Palmdale School District. The Guidance Charter School has small classroom environment, 20 students in grades K through 3, 25 students in grades 4 through 8 and no more than 30 students in grades 9 through 12. Call the Guidance Charter School in Palmdale at 661-285-1600. That's the Guidance Charter School in Palmdale at 661-285-1600. And check out their website at thegcs.org. A better high school choice.
This is Palmdale Mayor Jim Ledford, and we have a great opportunity. We will be electing a new congressman for our valley. I served on the Palmdale City Council with Steve Knight, as well as serving with his father, Pete Knight, and I appreciate their service and belief in our community. Steve is a veteran of the U.S. Army, as well as an 18-year veteran of the LAPD, and I have the highest respect for our vet and law enforcement community. Steve has led by action over his tenure in Sacramento, and no one has authored more legislation for our veterans. As the son of a career Marine, I'm thankful for Steve's commitment to our veterans. Please join Mayor Pro Tem Tom Lackey and I in supporting Steve Knight for Congress.
Chronic Beats.
Welcome back to AVNewsCast.com.
You know, there was a discussion that was held by the Antelope Valley, the AV Biz Pro Network, on Common Core. Yeah. It was on Saturday, I think, right?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I didn't make it.
I couldn't make it either.
But they had a pretty good turnout. Mm-hmm. And I understand Nancy Smith, the president of Palmdale School Board, was there. Mm-hmm. And they had people, talking for and against, and it was kind of a debate style a little bit. And a lot of people, from what I got, a lot of people have a new outlook, okay? People that didn't understand it and were therefore against it now have
an appreciation.
A little bit of one, okay? And the big thing that was presented was that, Common Core was designed so that every state in the country was teaching the same stuff at the same time, okay? So that if you lived in California and your dad got transferred to Georgia, all right, and you had to move schools, you would move school, and when you got down there, you'd be right where you were.
Yeah.
Okay? Same
and that's
subject,
important. That is important, because when I moved from New York to L.A., I lost a lot. Well, you know what? I lost a lot because there were subjects that were automatic and mandated in the program in New York that's not here, that's optional, like geometry and trig and all of those. That path of math is optional here, and it's not in New York. And Regents testing is mandated in New York. Like, if you're in school for 6 months, you're tested. A midterm for us in New York was everything that you learned from September to the mid of that term. When I came here, a midterm was whatever the teacher taught you on Monday to Friday.
When I was in school, a midterm was exactly the way you first described it, okay? Right. From the beginning of the year until this point, and that was
talk
it.
About dumbed down. When I came to California, my education was completely compromised, and if it wasn't for my mom, my mother she had homework the whole summer. I was doing book reports and math, everything, the same that I do with the kids. But that was because my mother was like, what the heck is this? Because it didn't make sense. I was in the 7th grade with biology dissecting stuff in New York. Here, totally different thing.
Well, California, amongst 50 states, California is one of the lowest.
It's
when
terrible.
It comes to education.
Yeah.
Okay. But I wanted to go to the Common Core thing.
But you had to go see the girls on the cars?
No.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. I didn't even make it.
I saw you post.
Yes, I did post it. It was sent to me. I didn't even make it to Thunder on the Lot. Couldn't go.
I was like, look at this.
No. Didn't. And I don't even know where those girls came from.
Oh, okay.
That was Matt from Willow Springs. But anyway, I wanted to go just so I can gain a better understanding about it. Because I right now I take a position that I don't like it, and I don't know why I don't like it. It's like I don't like okra, and I don't know why I don't like that, because I don't even know what it is.
It's fun.
Okay. Yeah, at least with okra, we know why we don't like okra.
Well, I'm just saying,
you got to hide that in a big pot of gumbo.
I'm not good with change in certain areas,
Really?
right?
Certain areas.
Okay.
Certain areas.
Yeah, I
every
don't do well.
area.
Pretty much. Okay.
Every area.
Yeah, I am. I'm on autopilot.
Which is okay. Which is okay. Because
so-
that just means that your life is all the more better because you are good. You know, you carve out whatever is good, you get the kinks out, and you're rolling with it.
Right.
So that's a good thing.
Right.
But you got to allow for a little change in your life.
I get the critical thinking behind Common Core, and I think that's all really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't see any problem with holding everybody to the same standard either. Let's make sure it's a high standard.
Yeah.
And not teach to the lowest common denominator. We need to expect these kids to excel. You know.
Yeah, we need to really reach out to a pro and against.
I think it's another incident,
So we
like
can
I
talk
say,
about it this
of a recognized issue, and I don't know if the application of the fix is appropriate and right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We need to find out the information so we can make a judgment one way or the other. You know, a personal opinion on it, because there's been just so much negative, you know, in the examples of the math. Which doesn't make any sense. When I see it, it doesn't make any sense. But I would love for somebody that understands it to come in and tell me what's the thought behind it. Like, what are you trying to get to? Because I thought math was hard enough, understanding the formulas that you need to understand to get to wherever you had to go to the first time. This time, it's like, come on, give me a break.
Right. And you see the comical jokes on the internet of 1 + 1 is now 6.
Right.
You know, under Common Core. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know, but I've spoken to administrators, school administrators, that for the most part are 100% behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So
what choice do they have?
Well, they could still voice out if they didn't agree.
No,
they could talk.
Actually,
they could say to Steve, "I don't like it. I'm doing it, but I got, you know."
Yeah, and I think they would. I think they would.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think most definitely that they would. You know, nobody, even if it was off the record, and they know that I'm not going to say anything.
Right.
But but actually, just talking casually with them, they're behind it. I don't get it. I don't know enough about
That's why we need to have some people on.
You know,
whoever you spoke to, Steve, you need to find out whether or not they'll be willing to come on and talk about it.
They would be.
So
they would be. So you know, yeah, we can maybe do that. You know, we talked last week, and it was actually last Wednesday. We talked about how could Leland Yee, get so many votes. This is a guy who shouldn't have been on the ballot, but his name was put on the ballot. Mm-hmm. A allegedly corrupt senator,
Mm-hmm.
Weapons charges, corruption, all kinds of stuff, major federal felonies. How could that happen? How could he, be on the ballot?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the reason is because not just, and I'm not going to say that California is dumb, okay?
A little bit. We just
I'm not
talked
going to
about
say
the school
that, okay?
system. A little bit.
I won't say that, but people tend to not pay attention.
No,
okay?
like I said, it was name recognition.
Right.
They couldn't remember where they heard his name, but they heard his name.
Right. Because there was another candidate, okay? There was another candidate running for another office. And people, which is Betty Yee, okay? People may have gotten the two confused. However,
Betty?
I'm just saying. However, but one thing that was interesting, because the LA Times actually went out and spoke to people, okay? Polled people. People forgot.
Mm-hmm.
People
At
forgot.
15 minutes.
It's that 24-hour news story.
Mm-hmm.
People forgot. And when they went out and asked these people, and they were polling places, who did you vote for? Did you vote for this guy? Yes. How come? People couldn't remember that he was indicted, just like half of America cannot remember who won last year's Super Bowl.
Oh, well, that's sports.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying.
That's sports.
Okay?
That's not a good
Comparing
analogy.
something very important to something trivial.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff. Give me a break.
I get it.
I don't know who played.
Okay.
I pride myself on not knowing that.
Well, look, no other candidate, nobody ran commercials saying, don't vote for this guy. Nobody ran commercials pointing to him being indicted. because it was a non-issue.
Well, then
It was not an
this
issue.
is a great time for this to come up, and you know, everybody that's running. Well, no, because Tanaka has no chance. I was going to say they need to just make sure that the public knows about Tanaka because he got 80,000 votes.
Now, that's interesting. Okay,
That's disgusting.
you talk about Tanaka and Long Beach Police Chief McDonald, both running for sheriff.
Donnelly. McDonald?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Donnelly lost.
Donald,
He was
yeah.
running for governor.
Got it.
Okay, who didn't have a chance anyway. But you know, you talk about the LA County Sheriff's race, and you've got one guy that got 50,000 votes, running against a guy that got 270,000 votes.
That should be done.
Okay, it is going to be done. But there are people, and businesses that are still going to give Tanaka more money.
Why?
Okay, and he hasn't got a chance. Okay.
Why? I mean, I get that it's a tax write-off and all, but why? Why would you do that with his background?
I don't know.
I mean, I can't even understand it.
And it's clear that he's not going to win.
I mean,
All right?
it's clear
But
that
let's be fair. He has not yet been indicted. Okay.
Well, that's just
Let's be
the
fair,
shoe that's
okay?
about to drop.
But
I mean, they're going hard on it. Obviously, if they're petitioning to take over the jails, I mean, come on, that shoe's about to drop.
well, yeah, perhaps.
And it should have dropped beforehand because it I mean, not that it would have made a difference in the outcome of the race, unfortunately, but, you know, those 80,000 votes surely didn't need to. That was a waste.
You know, it was interesting. I was reading an article over the weekend. For a position like Secretary of State, you know how much money you need to be able to mount a good campaign for Secretary of State? $3 million. Okay?
You know what I think is funny about that statement? Is that, is there any qualifications that's needed? So it's all about money.
In a lot of cases,
It's all about just
You
the
just
money.
buy your spot.
I'll give you an example.
Isn't it a trip?
I'll give you an example. Unless you're a Jerry Brown or an Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you want to run for governor, you need $25 to $30 million. Okay?
And that's it.
If you want
High
to
school
have
diploma, optional.
if you want to have a political campaign, okay, that reaches all 18 million registered voters in the state, you need $25 to $30 million. Okay. Now, and here's the thing, and I've known Schwarzenegger for a long time, worked on his campaign.
Would you do it again?
No.
You know you answered right. You got to be with me the rest of the day.
No, I wouldn't. Okay, but here you said qualifications. Okay,
Yeah.
as a businessman in the private sector, very smart guy, knew how to take a dollar and turn it into five. Made a lot of money.
In the movie industry, right?
No. He has other businesses. He was involved in a lot of things. Owns a real estate company. Is involved in shopping malls. Involved in a lot of things. Okay.
Is he really, or is he invested?
What do you mean? No, he really is.
Okay.
Okay, he really is. But for qualifications, here is a guy. Okay, Terminator.
That's it.
What qualification? Okay. And what he said he was going
Well,
to
he was
do.
married to a Kennedy.
Okay.
Yeah, it
So
didn't hurt.
that's your.
It didn't
that's
hurt.
yeah, because you're going against the grain.
Okay.
You're a Republican.
Right.
Married to a Kennedy.
Right. Okay. It didn't hurt at all. He said he was going to create an advisory committee. He was bringing Warren Buffett on board,
Did he do that?
who kind of,
No. the
but
answer's
not
no.
for very long. Okay.
Warren was like, you ain't talk to me.
All right. He was going to look at the entire film industry and make changes, and he was going to appoint James Cameron head of some other thing.
Did he do it?
Okay. Not really.
Just say no.
They had a couple of meetings. All right. They had a couple of meetings. No.
It's a shame.
Okay, but so, when you talk about qualifications, well, there you have it. And we've talked a lot on the show about, people running for city council, people running for mayor, from the lowest elected office to the highest. There is kind of a path. There is sort of a path, okay? There really is. And
well, I mean,
and
it's
we
interesting
saw,
because I just think of J.D. Kennedy and how he slipped into it. And if he wouldn't have had a problem with his last check, he would have never went over
to Buck
McKeon's, would have never been offered a volunteer position, would have never been introduced into politics. When he answered that question like that, it stunned me because I'm thinking, shouldn't you be saying to me that you've always been part of the community and you've always been, interested in government and shouldn't that be I was so surprised that you slipped into it and now you're going to run with it because your name is Kennedy. You know what I mean? You look the part. It's just amazing to me.
Working for Congressman McKeon for 4 years does give you, some not only some credibility but some knowledge. Okay, it does. I will say that.
Yeah, but Buck McKeon didn't endorse you, which gives us some knowledge.
But then again, J.D. Kennedy didn't jump into the race at the time of the endorsement.
People pull and split and
I
all
understand.
kind of stuff.
And if you're listening to the show, I'm in no way beating up J.D. Kennedy. Okay, because I'll say something. I was very. I thought he was going to do much better than he did.
You were impressed?
No, I'm going to say this again. And wait a minute. Was I impressed? I was impressed by the fact that here you had somebody that came relatively from nowhere, from nowhere, and started a grassroots movement, worked the air show situation
you thought
very
that he
well.
started a grassroots movement. That's what
Correct.
happened.
Okay.
You thought it.
Right.
His talk was really good, and his look was really good. Because the
yes.
reality is that he wasn't much different than Suzette. Because when the votes came in, they were very close. So what you thought was happening was just camouflage. And I'm not trying to take away from him, but I'm just saying it's just interesting on how it could have went completely his way. It could have been, not, camouflage. It could have actually been this grassroots type thing that turned the election on its side, and it would have been Fox up against JD. And my whole point in bringing it up was not to beat him up. I mean, the election's done already. I'm just amazed that you can come from not having any experience, nothing remotely on its way to what you're running for, and still have the illusion of being able to take, to do something with it.
Okay, great example. Palmdale City Council, all right? Now has to run an election by districting, okay?
Yeah.
So the guy that, now you're going to have somebody, okay, that's going to be in District 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, who's may have zero experience, okay? Maybe nobody else is even going to run in the district, okay? And he's going to say, I want to be a city council guy.
Well, at least you start there. You don't start by trying to go to Sacramento.
Okay. Well,
I mean, that's a reasonable starting place to me.
Or, we talked about the Palmdale School Board, all right? And I asked, and a lot of the candidates were asked, how many school board meetings have you attended? Okay?
I thought that's a valid question.
It is, and there were several candidates, okay, who hadn't been attending any, and this is my first one. And now they, run for that.
Yeah,
okay?
That's crazy. That's like me doing it. And I have no, I showed no interest up until today, and now all of a sudden I went to a meeting. I'm gonna run for this.
But there's something to be said for the person that stands up and says, "I want to be counted." You know what? I want to make a difference. All right. I may not know anything about this. You want to be a difference,
but you need to know a little bit about it. Go to every meeting for a year at least. Be vocal. Be a presence. Come up with some suggestions. Understand the process. That's not unreasonable, in my opinion.
It's not. It's not. But
I would expect that. I mean, I think, school board to me, I'll give you a little bit more leeway, because if you have a child that's going to school and you're seeing the homework and you're seeing the politics behind it and you feel like you can make a difference, like Jeff Moffitt, I commend that. You don't want your son to be under a certain kind of environment, and you see where things could have changed. Like, for instance, did you hear about this money that the Palmdale School District found? Yeah,
I heard that they found some money in their coffers.
That's just craziness.
Right.
And he did talk, and he spoke to that, and he was speaking to audit. I want to see where all the money is. How is it that they find money?
It happens. Look, California. Last year they found $50 million
Now
in the
you're
Parks
doing one of
Department.
my things. Now you're doing one of my things.
What am I doing?
You're going around. You're not dealing with the issue at hand. The point is that they were talking about how no, they've counted all the dollars, and we must do this because it's not there. How is it that you're opening your mouth to say those things when you really have not looked at all the money?
This is a new board, okay? This is a new board, and the money was a carryover from the old board.
I'm not holding the new board members accountable for it. I'm talking about when we were going through the elections and people of the old board was talking that, we know where the money is. We don't need an audit because everything's accounted for. We know what's going on. And then all of a sudden...
how much did they say they found? Do you know?
It was millions. I want to say at least 10.
That's a lot
do you
of money.
remember, Jeff? Did you hear about that?
I saw it. I just kind of.
I don't remember the number, but it was it's in a ridiculous amount.
I don't know. I don't know how it happens.
It's shameful.
But the Palmdale. I will say one thing: the Palmdale School District, I think, is the 18th largest district in the state. Mm-hmm. Okay, they've got a lot of kids, 19,000 kids. Mm-hmm. They have an enormously large budget. I'm sure their accounting process is. I'm sure it can't be easy to see every dollar. There's got to be stuff because there's laws and Title I. There's all kinds of stuff that go into that, and I can't even speak to that because I don't know enough about it. Okay.
Yes.
But I will say, okay, just like in any business, mm-hmm. okay, you should be able to know at any 1 minute where all your money is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say
and
that.
we should not have laws on the books that makes it so convoluted that you don't know where that $10 is supposed to be allocated. Or, you know what I mean? Like, why,
right.
All the money shouldn't be earmarked when you got such a deficit in one spot and you got hundreds of thousands of dollars in another area that can obviously be used elsewhere, but you can't? That's silliness to me.
Right, I agree.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I saw something on Facebook that was really cool. This is going to be like my new thing.
Yeah.
Okay? Evaluate the people in your life, then promote, demote, or terminate.
Oh, absolutely.
You are the CEO of your life.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do that.
I do that. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm going to do it more.
No, your life routinely needs a bloodletting. You need to get the garbage out.
Yeah.
A bloodletting?
Yeah,
Yes,
no,
yeah.
I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
I get what he's saying. I did, I
You
have
need to
only
slap some leeches
unfriended.
on there and get the bad blood out.
Mm-hmm.
I've only unfriended 2 people on Facebook in however long I've been on Facebook. And this weekend I unfriended 5.
Wow.
Okay. I've only defriended 2. One because she's just so negative, just like, good Lord, the sun is just never shining on your face. And I just couldn't take it anymore, and it happened to be a family member. Mm-hmm. But she was just so depressive. And then this other chick, I knew her for a long time, and I knew her for 20 years, but I knew her 20 years ago. She turned out to be this freak. And I was like, oh, okay, so you want some new stuff. Delete. I just can't even.
Yeah, because I don't have time for that
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't.
Do you delete friends, Jeff?
I haven't yet. I got a friend request from a relative that I don't care much for just over the weekend, and I declined that, but I haven't gone through and weeded anything out.
All right, well, we're out of time.
Everybody's important to me.
Well, I like to keep some of the weirdos close so I can see what they're thinking.
Yeah,
So,
I'm what, 4 feet away from you?
Interesting that you say that, because somebody said just prior to the last election, said, hey, I see that you've liked this guy's campaign and that guy's campaign and this guy's campaign and da-da-da. How come? Well, why? I thought I was your guy. Well, what are you doing? How else do you keep tabs on everybody?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that, you can like their campaigns and vote the way you want to vote.
Right.
Because you might like the person. I mean, I like and admire and appreciate both Steve and Lackey.
Well, this was an absolutely unique election for me because I didn't just have to, hold my nose and pick the lesser of the evils. I actually really liked a lot of the people that were on there.
Right.
It was a difficult decision. Well,
or 2 of them.
3.
No.
3?
Just going all the way down, from the top all the way down the ballot. I actually went to the polling place. I had my ballot. It was all filled out. Okay? I actually took it. Unlike other people in California, okay, that just were like a ballot troll and they just started doing stuff. That's why Leland, got as many votes as he got.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I know we're out of time. We got to go.
Yeah.
So I'm going to thank everybody for listening to us and making us the #1 news talk radio program in the Antelope Valley. Have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow at 8 a.m.